Join us! Join us!
Welcome back to the Shadow Kvlt Podcast here on the Shadow Kvlt YouTube channel. It is episode 3? Yes, episode 3 of the Shadow Kvlt Podcast. And this week we are talking... Well, last time we talked about Survivor Series 1996, so figured why not? A natural progression. 2 shows after that, Royal Rumble 1997, which features, in my opinion, one of the top 5 best Royal Rumble matches of all time. A couple other notable things, we'll talk about that, but of course I'm joined by Scott and Walt.
What's up, Ed?
So, yeah, we were talking Royal Rumble 1997, so yeah, like I brought up in the beginning. Last time we were here, we talked about Survivor Series 1996 and how that show led to quite a bit of things going forward in 1997. Particularly the rise of Stone Cold, the debut of The Rock, or Rocky Maivia, and so many other things that end up getting pushed even further, starting with this show, going on throughout the rest of the years. So, 1997... the wrestling business at this point starting to get hot again because, well, mostly thanks to the NWO over there in WCW, but competition's starting to get up. Even though Raw was getting their ass kicked in the ratings, they were about ready to start to break out. It'd be a couple of months before they would start actually going someplace with stories and feuds and such, but... prior to this, when we talked about the Pillman's Got a Gun angle prior to Survivor Series, that's when you started to see the transition. It wouldn't be fully completed until WrestleMania 13 time, I would argue. Right. So we get to Royal Rumble 97. So some statistics for this show. Royal Rumble 1997 from the Alamo Dome in San Antonio, Texas, the same place Royal Rumble 2017 took place. The attendance was 60,525, 40,014 of which paid. The live gate was $480,013. Pay-per-view buys, $190,000. So, compared to the rest of the pay-per-views of 1997... Royal Rumble was actually the highest attended pay-per-view. Royal Rumble was the 3rd highest live gate. WrestleMania was 1st. And then the pay-per-view buys was the 4th highest. Survivor Series was the highest at 250,000. So, needless to say, at the start of 97, and actually on top of that, as far as statistics compared to Royal Rumble 96, attendance and live gate was up, but pay-per-view buys was down, as it was 250,000 in 96. So while, yeah, pay-per-view buys down, but everything else went up, which is incredible, because still, WWF was still not in the best of places. After all, they were getting killed in the ratings against WCW, and they were just starting to make that transition to what became to be the Attitude Era. So we're still in that dormant period of things starting to get a little out of hand product-wise.
Yeah, we're out of the wrestling recession now. We are in the period of rebirth. You know, it's the rebound period where everything is starting to grow now. And we've seen changes already from our previous show where we saw Survivor Series 96. Royal Rumble 97, some people are there, some people are not there in transition. Some people have changed sides, if you will, and more developments happening with other storylines. And it's so weird to look at this show being January 97 and think of 2 major occurrences that happened in the WWF in this year, one only 7 months later and one 10 months later. And that's Stone Cold getting dropped on his head and the screw job.
One thing also I want to point out is, I mean, I don't want to jump too far ahead in talking about the show, but there's one thing also that's actually a good figure point as to where the company was at that time. look at the Royal Rumble, the participants. About a third of those participants all were a particular thing. Mm-hmm. About a third of those participants in the Royal Rumble were members of the AAA promotion in Mexico.
Right.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of guys who are not in the promotion, and that just goes to show you, like, did they do that as a favor for AAA, or did AAA do it as a favor for them because they didn't have enough guys in the Rumble to pad the, so they brought them in to pad the numbers up? So
it's quite possible. It makes sense. I mean, because this was the time where Vince was starting to really have to clamor to find new talent, and he was starting to get some relationship going with Paul Heyman and ECW. He knew about AAA, so they're in San Antonio, not too far away from the home base for AAA. Let's bring some of that in, see if we could get them going. So it was an expansion period for WWE. They were trying to find some new talent to bring in. So, and the show, as we'll get into, there's a lot of AAA talent on this show.
Maybe not all over the place, not just in the Rumble too.
Yeah, not just on the pay-per-view we saw, but additional matches that we can touch upon. So.
Yeah, like the 3 dark matches you had. First, you had Paraguayo Jr. and Venom versus Maniaco and Mosco de la
said.
Yeah, I don't speak Spanish, so
I'm like today.
Yes, you might today.
Paraguayo is a tragic story in wrestling. I'm sure a lot of you guys know what happened with him.
Yep.
He died in the ring.
Yep.
With Rey Mysterio in the match.
Mysterio.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
And then the second dark match you had featuring AAA talent, you had Blue Demon Jr., Octagon, and Tinibalas Jr. versus...
Tinibalas Jr.
Versus Abismo Negro, Heavy Metal, and Hysteria in a 6-man tag. And then you had a mini match. You had Mascarita Sagrada Jr. and La Parquita versus Mini Mankind and Mini Vader.
Mascarita Sagrada was like, not in stature, but like in size, but like he was super over.
Star. Yeah,
big star. Crazy. What's really funny though is Octagon is the huge star in Mexico. He main evented the When Worlds Collide pay-per-view with El Santo to wrestle Eddie and Art Barr, and here he is doing a dark match for the Rumble.
Yeah,
3 years later.
It's crazy. And Blue Demon Jr., isn't he not a former NWA World Champion? Because I'm pretty sure he won the title during that period in the 2000s when it was Adam Pearce, Reno, that kind of time frame. I think
you're right. But Blue Demon's Demon's awesome because his father is Blue Demon Sr. and him and Santo did all those movies in the 60s and 70s.
Right. Yeah, so it was Blue Demon Jr. Yeah, he did become NWA World Champion briefly.
Yeah, very briefly.
I would assume this was after NWA left TNA.
Oh no, this is this time frame. Yeah, after the TNA split away from the NWA and NWA went independent again, they were struggling to get some kind of recognition. Adam Pearce was becoming a big star for the NWA as champion. Colt Cabana became champion. The Sheik.
Not
the Sheik from Florida.
Not the Sheik we know and love. The knockoff Sheik.
This was a different guy, and wasn't a couple other guys from Japan were
Rob Conway. Kojima.
Kojima, yep.
Masato Tanaka, I think, had the belt too.
I think you're right. Yeah, so this was that mid 2000s to around 2012 era of the NWA when they were struggling just to keep going.
New Japan was hosting NWA title matches. Mm-hmm. Well, as I said, Kojima and Masato Tanaka, Rob Conway.
Yep. Yeah.
So, with all that out of the way, now it's time to get to the main card. So, we kick things off with our opening match for the Intercontinental Championship. Champion Hunter Hearst Helmsley with Mr. Hughes versus Goldust with Marlena. So I saw with the promo package leading to this match, Goldust had turned babyface by this time and started to embrace more of his love for Marlena, especially after a segment with Jerry Lawler where Lawler called him a queer and then beat the crap out of him. And then, of course, in the build-up to this match, you'd see Helmsley going after Marlena, pissing off Goldust. And then we get to this match, and there's a trend starting with this match throughout the rest of the show. Referees did not give a shit if they beat each other up outside the ring with weapons or anything. Because these two were hitting each other with stairs and all kinds of stuff. It was like, and they played it up on commentary too. Like, why isn't the referee calling DQ?
Helmsley takes a horrid looking shot with the stairs because Dustin just picks him up and drops it right on him. Yeah, he's prone to take it, but man, it looked good.
Yeah, and the match itself.
That was a big pet peeve of mine with this pay-per-view, the inconsistencies of the timing with the referees. You know, you'd have Chad Patton go like ape shit, and then you'd have Earl Hebner doing the old school, really slow cadence. There was no consistency with that. It was really getting on my nerves.
Yeah. But overall, the match itself was actually a decent opener. I mean, these two were beating the shit out of each other. Just imagine, though, if this was like a no DQ match and they could use weapons at this time, they probably could have had a better match. But for what it was a good opener. It was a solid match. Even though, in my opinion, it maybe went about 5 minutes too long. This was the second longest match of the show. Longer than the main event, which is really weird. But in the end, Hunter Hearst Helmsley defeated Goldust in 16 minutes, 50 seconds.
Yep, and a lot of BS, dog and pony show at the end there. Just, Hughes throws the belt in, distraction. Marlena comes up. Helmsley kisses her. Goldust hits the belt, knocks him down, falls into the ropes, cover. Hughes pulls it out of the ring. Just all kinds of craziness happening for this finish.
And there's one thing I forgot, too. After Goldust used the cigar to ride in Mr. Hughes' face, knocked him off the apron, you could see Goldust go, "Fuck you!" Like, I saw him lip, he was like, "Fuck you!" before he got pedigreed for the end.
Curtis Hughes, man, he could just not get over.
No.
3 different companies.
Second of like several attempts, several stints in the WWF. Mm-hmm. He was there in '93. He was in the King of the Ring tournament, and then he came back for this one. Disappeared. Then he was with Jericho. I remember that too.
Which made no sense.
Oh, absolutely zero sense.
Did he have time in ECW? I want to say he did, but I can't remember if he did or not.
Yeah, it was in ECW for a couple of years. Oh, you know what's funny though? He was Marlena's bodyguard in WCW.
That's right. That's right.
He was a member of the York Foundation.
It was Curtis Hughes, and he just wrestled on like Saturday night occasionally, and then all of a sudden they gave him a suit and gave him the Big Bubba gimmick, basically.
Yeah. Yep.
So now moving on to the second match of the show, one of the big grudge matches of the card, Farouk versus Ahmed Johnson. Now, of course, this all dated back to...
a lot of build-up.
Ton of build-up, going back to July in the previous year after Ahmed had beat Goldust to win the Intercontinental title at the King of the Ring, and then suffered some kidney diagnosis and then gets kicked in the kidney by Farouk, which took him out of action for several months. And
it's on TV.
Yeah, and the story behind the whole Ahmed kidney stuff, he almost lost his life from this too, which is crazy to think. Eventually, thankfully he did recover and came back at the end of '96, going into '97, and then we'd see him going after Farouk, who had already created the Nation of Domination at this point. And this is what launched the Ahmed Nation feud that went on for most of the first half of '97 until WWF decided to fuck it up by turning Ahmed heel and having him join the Nation, which made no sense.
None.
I mean, if you wanted Ahmed...
He wasn't there. He wasn't part of the group long either. They kicked him out pretty quick.
Yeah, after he got injured again.
Right.
And from what I can remember of why they did that, it was supposed to be a vehicle for Ahmed to get a shot at The Undertaker. Well, if you wanted Ahmed to have a match against The Undertaker for the title, you didn't need him being in the Nation.
And he ended up getting hurt in that. He couldn't do the match anyways. I think Vader took his spot.
The one thing, though, with this time period, Ahmed is crazy over. He is really over with the crowd. At this time, they're pushing him strong. Me and my buddies used to joke that we called his finisher the "You is my bitch driver." Because it was all timing because he would hook one arm, hook the other arm, flip him over, sit out. So it was, "You is my bitch." So that was his finish. Yep.
So we get
plunge like that. "You is my bitch driver." That's way more over. Pro Wrestling Tees, make a T-shirt. Give me your money.
So we get to this match, and this was more of a brawl than a match, really. And it was an entertaining brawl. And, man, it's like you almost wish that with this feud, the way it was going, apart from WrestleMania 13 when you had the six-man tag team Chicago Street Fight, you almost wish that these two would have had more weapons-based matches, because they love to use chairs and 2x4s and every other thing you could imagine. So it's like, maybe perhaps instead of turning Ahmed heel, he should have had a blow-off match between the two at King of the Ring. And, yeah, it would have robbed Farouk of getting a title shot against The Undertaker, but hey, you would have had a big marquee grudge match for that show. And
and it helps when they use weapons, because it gives them more opportunity to do more stuff that otherwise they just can't do. You know, this is Farouk and Ahmed Johnson. They're not going to do arm drag takedowns and all that stuff. They have to have a serious, big man fight, but Ahmed is still green at this time. And Farouk is really having to be the leader. So, and of course, Simmons knows how to work with a younger guy. So he really carries him through this match. There's several different spots there where, like, during the match, Farouk's got him in like a camel clutch. And then they get a little too close to the ropes, and Farouk positions his legs right over top of Ahmed's head, and he starts arguing with somebody in the front row to give Ahmed the opportunity to stand up with him and take that big, huge bump.
The electric chair drop,
electric chair drop there, So you see him trying to really work.
Johnson could have been without injuries and with a little more motivation.
Yeah, could have been a real big name.
No doubt. Also, another factor, if he could not sound like he's mumbling on the mic.
You're going down!
Googly moogly! That's the joke backstage. Don't give us any bad comments there.
But in the
Jerry
end,
Briscoe joke backstage whenever they would hear Ahmed Johnson talking. So,
but in the end, Ahmed Johnson defeated Farouk via disqualification in 8 minutes 48 seconds. So the shortest match of the show was this. But the stuff between Ahmed and Farouk was not over on this night, and we'll get to that when we get to it.
Mm-hmm. Now, also, he puts a member of the nation through the table at ringside. The French announcer table, not the Spanish. The French table takes it out this time. Maybe because they're close to Mexico? Who knows?
Who knows?
Triple shrug.
But moving on to the next match, the second big grudge match of the show, Undertaker versus Vader. Now, of course, this is mostly a continuation of the Undertaker-Paul Bearer feud that started back at SummerSlam. The match itself, it was okay. It wouldn't be like their awesome match at Canadian Stampede, but I mean, for the match for what it was fine for what it was. Wasn't anything spectacular, but wasn't anything bad. It was just kind of there. It was just kind of there. And of course,
Vader going up somewhat. Well, I went somewhat clean. No, not clean at all. Well, another pinfall loss for Undertaker, which you didn't see very often, though.
Yeah, and it was Rumble, so it was safe to do that. And Paul Bearer gets involved with the finish. It's one of my favorite things to see, like Taker give himself the clothesline over the top rope so he can take the bump and just roll over and land on his feet to be right there, Paul, to give him a shot. I always love that. It's like so.
Taker's starting to show more facial expressions at this point now too.
Yeah,
arguing with the referee, getting verbal,
right.
Yelling at the camera.
Yeah, we started seeing that in the previous pay-per-view where it was more the humanization of the Undertaker, where he could sell, use more
and it unfolds a little more with this
work
one.
a little more. Yeah, and so this one's just a continuation of that, and kind of has to. At the beginning, he's doing like some old school stuff where he would get blasted by Vader, take the bump, do the sit-up, and then do it again, do another sit-up, and then start getting to more, working capabilities. So
what's Taker was he's able to utilize qualities he had from all different eras, and kind of mold it together as the character evolves further.
Yeah, and I like how, with the finish, with Paul Bearer hitting him with the urn and then taking the Vader bomb, and then you'd see him choke slam Jack Dode straight down, and then you see him yell into the camera and throwing a temper tantrum almost, going absolutely nuts. So, yeah, like you pointed out, Walter, we're starting to see Undertaker become a little more human during this, what I call the Lord of Darkness era that started at Survivor Series all the way up until Rock Bottom 98.
And interesting, too, there are 3 matches, and I think this is one of them, that all do the same spot. It's the spot where one guy jumps off the second rope or the top rope, and the other guy catches him and turns it into a power bomb. A power slam, excuse me. It happens during the Ahmed Farouk match. I think it happens during this match, and it happens during the main event. So that was very interesting to see that 3 different matches had the exact same spot.
I guess it was a popular spot for them to do.
Agents weren't on as much into it back then as they are now. So.
Strongbow was probably like, did they do that already?
Patterson,
and
too.
they can't go to Vince because Vince is in the audience.
Yeah,
Vince
he's out doing commentary, yeah.
I can see Vince probably by the main event. How about another cut off into a power slam, pal? I was kidding, but whatever.
Bruce, what are you doing?
So now we move on to probably the most random match of the card. It's a 6-man tag match with 6 AAA guys. It's Canek, Hector Garza, and Paraguayo Sr. versus Fuerza Guerrera, Heavy Metal, and Jerry Estrada. I mean, it was a throwaway match. It was a good match. Too bad the crowd did not give 2 flying fucks about this match.
That's the funny thing. They're right down the road from AAA's home base, and they're bringing in... Paraguayo was a huge star in Mexico. Huge. Hector Garza was very popular as well. El Canek was a rival of Tiger Mask.
Yep.
And Fuerza Guerrero, that's Juventude's father.
Right.
Heavy Metal and Jerry Estrada were both very popular as well. These were like main event level guys in AAA, and pretty much everybody went to go get their beer during this match.
Yeah, and also I think these guys were hindered by the ropes, because I don't think the ropes were as tight as they were used to in AAA, because it seems like various times they're off their timing with certain springboards and rebounds and stuff like that. It's just the timing is not there. That's why it's very sloppy.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, good entertaining match. It's just too bad the crowd was just not into it. And the only other match I could compare this to would be SummerSlam 93, where you had the Heavenly Bodies versus the Midnight Express, I believe.
Yeah, that was it was Heavenly Bodies versus the Rock and Roll
Express for the Smoky Mountain Tag titles, where that was honestly the best match of that show, but nobody cared.
The crowd didn't buy it. Yeah, because it was in like Boston.
Yeah. Yeah, so I kind of compare this match to that match from SummerSlam 93. It was good, entertaining, but the crowd was just not into it. This was basically to get the crowd to relax, to get prepared for the big match, the next match, the Royal Rumble match. So you start the match off. Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention who won. El Canek, Hector Garza, and Paraguayo Sr. won.
El Canek actually slammed Andre the Giant. That's his claim to fame.
Yes, he did.
He slammed Andre.
Yeah, he was one of the many prior to Hogan.
Before Hogan.
That slammed him, so yeah.
So now we get to the Rumble match itself. So you started off with Crush of the Nation of Domination up against Farouk. And you started off with seeing them two going at each other because Ahmed's still pissed about what happened earlier in the night against Farouk. And then you get Fake Razor coming out, eliminated in 17 seconds. Bye-bye, no one gives a shit about you, Rick Bogner.
Sorry.
Then you get Phineas... And then you get Phineas Godwin coming out at number 4 before number 5... Stone Cold Steve Austin coming out, and then...
No pop either. No pop for Steve.
No.
Nope.
Yeah, which was...
Here's the one thing about this show. The crowd is pretty quiet for a good portion of it.
And that's usually because of the size of the venue, because it's the Alamo Dome.
That's true.
You know, it's...
I mean, the only noticeable pop
is going everywhere, so...
Yeah.
You can't get concentrated.
Right.
Yeah. So then Austin comes out, and then you start seeing him go on a rampage. Kind of a mini version of the Diesel spot for a couple entries. Eliminates number 6 Bart Gunn, and then Jake the Snake Roberts. So you got 2 moments in a Diesel spot before number 8.
It's
British
no longer
Bulldog.
a Diesel spot. It's the Brock Lesnar spot now.
Now it is, yeah.
Yeah.
It was the Diesel spot, then it became the Kane spot, then it became the Roman Reigns spot. Now it's the Brock Lesnar spot.
And it's going to be the Brock Lesnar spot for a long time.
A while.
Yeah.
They are not doing that again.
And then next up, number 8, you had the British Bulldog come out. And, forgot to mention...
Timeout right there. Were you going to mention the little interviews throughout the evening?
I wasn't gonna bring those up.
Let's touch upon that because they were only given 15 seconds to do a promo to put themselves over about the Royal Rumble. You had Mankind, you had Terry Funk, and all that stuff. And Bulldog does one coming into the building, and the end of it is so weird. He's like, "I'm gonna win the Royal Rumble because I'm bizarre."
Yeah, that was so odd.
Was Bulldog working babyface this night? Because it seemed like he was.
Yes. Yeah, he had. We just went from him and Owen being the tag champions at Survivor Series, and then December, January, not even 2 full months later, him and Owen are on the outs with each other, and now he's working babyface. I missed that.
And then Owen accidentally throws him out. And he's like,
Right.
"Oh no, he put me out!
He fucked him! He fucked me!
You idiot!"
I'm gonna have a bulldog."
But one thing I forgot to mention, prior to Bulldog coming out, when Stone Cold eliminated Jake Roberts, you saw him mock the Roberts praying by getting in the middle of the ring on his knees. And then Bulldog comes out, and then you saw Austin and Bulldog really go at it before number 9, Perroth from AAA coming out. And Perroth lasted a good little bit, about 10.5 minutes in this match.
He was a top heel in AAA at the time. He was a main eventer in AAA.
Number 10, the Sultan, later Rikishi, coming out, and he only gets about 3.5 minutes in this match before Mil Mascalis comes out.
Oh, God.
And, we'll talk about him in just a moment, but number 12...
Mil Mascaris.
Yeah, this is far beyond his time.
Don't tell him that.
No. Flying headbutt, brother. Flying headbutt, brother. Flying headbutt, brother.
Flying headbutt, brother.
That's the infamous story that Steve Corino tells about working with Mills Mascaris in Japan. It was Corino and Dusty Rhodes against Mills Mascaris. I don't remember who. This was Pro Wrestling 01, I think, or something like that. And the whole thing was they didn't want Dusty and Mills touching it because they hadn't wrestled in Japan in forever. So the whole time it's Corino and Mills, and everything is flying headbutt. He'd send him in, boom. Send him in, boom. Eventually Mills goes, "You know what it is." Sends him in, bang. Flying headbutt. Flying headbutt, brother.
Stories on Mil Mascaris.
Yeah, and the infamous story with him and Cactus Jack at the Texas Shootout Clash of Champions. So
my father got to see Mil wrestle at the Garden before I was born.
Oh, wow.
And he always told me, Mil Mascaris was something else. Oh, he was amazing and wild. And then I finally got to see Mil wrestle. I'm like, Dad, what the hell is this?
Yeah. Yeah, far beyond.
By then, I was exposed by more fluid heavyweights, like Blue Blazer and Liger and all that. But
So then number 12 is Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Number 13, Owen Hart. And around this time, Goldust coming out next, and then Cibernetico from AAA comes out, and that's when we get probably the most infamous moment of the match, where Mil Mascaras eliminates himself.
And doesn't know it.
He was in a different Royal Rumble. It was either 94 or 95, and he did the same thing. It's an ego thing.
Yeah,
it's an ego thing. Mil will not let it. Mil thinks he's that big a star.
Can't throw me out. I'll eliminate myself, and that'll get me out of there. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mil Mascaras' ego is notorious. It's disgustingly huge.
Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe for in the early part of his career, it's justified because of all the money he made.
He was a huge star in the 70s.
Yeah,
huge.
But he just didn't know when to give it up.
So that's the first half of the match, and then we get, starting at number 16, you get Marc Mero coming out, and then Latin Lover from AAA, and Jerry Lawler kept playing up like, oh, Sable is looking at the Latin Lover, maybe wants to get rid of Marc Mero, and then Farouk comes out, and Farouk, just after he eliminates Latin Lover, gets eliminated by Ahmed Johnson, who came out with the 2x4 and chased him out, so to keep the
ginger taps on the 2x4.
Yes.
Very lightly.
Very lightly, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then it was around this time when Stone Cold was starting to get on a tear of eliminating people left and right. I think after that, he eliminated both Marc Mero and Owen Hart, and then goes back to the Diesel spot again to Savio Vega. Oh, the classic rivalry with him and Stone Cold the year prior.
They're putting over that Caribbean strap match from WrestleMania.
Yes.
Yeah, the Caribbean strap match from Beware of Dog 2, yeah.
Oh, that's right, it was Beware of Dog. They just had a regular match.
They did have a regular match at WrestleMania, but...
yeah.
And then out comes...
and this part, they have to replay it later on.
Then out comes Double J Jesse James, who was in there for 29 seconds. Then, starting at number 21...
So, no, he got some offense in.
Yeah.
Got to do his little thing, too.
And then starting at number 21, that's when you start to see this match really take off, with Bret Hart coming out, and Austin's reaction, like, oh shit, okay, let's get back to where we were at the Survivor Series. And you had a little match within a match during this time where they were just going at each other before Jerry Lawler gets in. Before he could finish his sentence, he gets in the ring. 4 seconds later, he's out.
To know a king!
And they play it up on commentary like Jerry had no idea what the hell happened.
You were in there so fast you couldn't finish the sentence.
But then after Lawler, no eliminations until the end. So starting at number 23, you get Fake Diesel. Oh, I felt bad for Glenn Jacobs so much during that time. Thankfully, a few months later, the Kane concept was created.
9 months later.
Boom.
Yeah, it was October. I think it was October 97, Bad Blood.
Yeah. Then you get Terry Funk, followed by
Terry Funk is in the Rumble. I remember the build up to this Rumble. They had
the night before on Shotgun Saturday Night, him and Stone Cold in the ring, and
we're squaring off.
Yeah. That was awesome.
And they didn't really go any further with that, which I kind of wish Terry Funk was super crazy in this match. Not super crazy, the wrestlers, but the crazy old man we all know him for. I was kind of hoping Terry Funk would go in, throwing chairs in there, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But that would have been really fun. Get that. Oh, so much fun you could have had with Terry Funk. Wasted opportunity.
And on top of that, you could have kept the angle with him and Austin going and had a match between the two on either Raw or the next pay-per-view. And it would have been fun.
Son of a bitch!
I know about Stone Cold. I know all about your kind, because I had a jackass. I love that jackass. And one day, I had to kill that jackass. And I'm going to kill you, Austin. With a banana nose and fake teeth. The Ric Flair promo.
Oh, God.
That was no jackass. That was Ric Flair.
Yes.
Oh, God. I'm almost in fucking tears over
I want to give Terry Funk credit probably for the boom of pro wrestling in the early 80s, because I really think it was his relationship with Sylvester Stallone to do Paradise Alley that led to Sylvester Stallone working with Hulk Hogan in Rocky III, which then led to the eventual Rock and Wrestling Connection and WrestleMania and Hulkamania.
Yeah.
It's a stretch, I know, but I think there's some validity somewhat to Terry Funk being an influence.
So then after Terry Funk, you had Rocky Maivia come out, and then Mankind. Then we get Flash Funk. Yeah, everybody comes in, no eliminations, which is good. Fill the ring up. That's what I always
fill the ring up, because technically when it came down to Brett and Austin, that's when the Royal Rumble really began. That's when things got real serious, like you were saying.
Brett gets the biggest pop of the Rumble when he comes.
Oh yeah, that's the crowd woke right up.
Yep.
Then Flash Funk comes out. Vader comes out. Henry Godwinn at 29, bit of a head scratcher, but something. And then number 30, The Undertaker. So at that time, you had 10 wrestlers in the ring at once. You had Austin, Brett, Fake Diesel, Terry, Rock, Mankind, Flash, Vader, Henry, and Taker.
You see how dramatic Vince gets when Taker comes out? And now, ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the 1997 Royal Rumble is on his way to the ring right now.
Yep.
Yeah.
And look at the class of guys you have in the ring at this point.
So many legends.
Yeah, you've got
legends, future stars, in the case of Mankind and The Rock.
Mick Foley, future Hall of Famer. Terry Funk, future Hall of Famer. Bret Hart, future Hall of Famer. The Undertaker would go out and have an incredible career. Diesel would become Kane and have an amazing career. Henry Godwinn. You would have Vader, who would become a huge star in the world and eventually become a Hall of Famer. He will eventually. So yeah, what a class of guys you had in the ring at that time.
And an underrated veteran in Flash Funk, Too Cold Scorpio.
Right.
Oh, absolutely.
So
he can still go at this age.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this Rumble match was historical in the sense that this would be the only Rumble match to feature Bret Hart and The Rock in the ring at the same time in a Rumble match. This was the only time you saw that, and Mick Foley with Bret and such. So a lot of interesting combinations you saw in those final 10 spots. And then we start to get gradual eliminations with like Henry Godwinn and Flash Funk being out and so on and so forth. And then the match starts getting really chaotic with the final 6, which was like Mankind, Terry Funk, Vader, Fake Diesel, Bret, Austin, Taker, 7 actually. Then you start, after Mankind and Terry Funk eliminate each other, or actually, Mankind eliminated Terry, and then Taker eliminates Mankind, and then you saw a Mankind-Terry Funk fight. As that happens, Austin gets tossed out of the ring by Bret, but does not count, because the referees didn't see it. And then Austin gets back in, eliminates both Vader and The Undertaker. At the same time, Bret eliminates Fake Diesel. Bret thinks he wins, but gets tossed out by Austin, and Stone Cold unofficially wins the 1997 Royal Rumble match, in which Bret was so pissed off. This was the beginning of Crybaby Bret Hart that led to the famous heel turn at WrestleMania just a couple months later.
Yep. Really
Bret was having a hissy fit, grabbing Vince and all that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a big thing right there too. That was really big at that time. You know, it's easy to gloss over nowadays, but for that time period, that didn't happen.
Vince was just acting like a regular commentator.
Yeah, nobody touched Vince. Not at all. You know, it didn't matter who you were, Bobby Heenan and his crew and all that stuff. Nobody would touch Vince. The only guy I remember ever touching Vince in any way was Andre. And that's when Andre was a babyface. So
I just want to make people happy.
Yeah. Well, they might say there's some kind of a yellow streak down your back if you want to accept a rematch with Big John Studd. No one call me yellow, anyone.
You might get your foot off my shoulder.
Nice.
Oh, God. So now with the Rumble match...
No more girlfriends!
No more girlfriends!
Sorry, we keep railroading you, Levi. Flashbacks.
I don't know if Levi knows that story.
No, I don't think he does either.
No more Andre and Hogan. No more girlfriends.
Yeah, it was in Japan.
No more
Girlfriends.
So, overall, this Rumble match. So, good Lord, what has happened? I'm still losing it from Scott doing the Terry Funk voice.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God! All right, so overall with this Rumble match, started off slow, but I would make the argument that the second half of this Rumble match made this, in my opinion, top 5 Rumble match of all time. Probably number 5.
Great Rumble.
Yeah, I mean it was all people sex. It was slow and sloppy at the beginning there, but as it went on, it started to get
the second half is where the story really picks up.
So it's like for me it was a good Rumble match. The entire thing was not. It took all that time to build up, and then once you got Brett in there, it's like now we're going. Now we're off to the races. So
yep. And then as good as this Rumble match was, ultimately in the grand scheme, this was a wasted Rumble match because Austin didn't get his title shot. In fact, going back to with WrestleMania 13, the whole idea behind this was, Austin would win the Rumble, but it would be all for naught because the whole plan was to set up Brett Shawn 2 at WrestleMania. And then we know what happened with that. I lost my smile. And that caused a whole conundrum of fuck-ups leading into WrestleMania 13. And if we ever do a WrestleMania 13 episode, we can go more in depth about how fucked up that shit was.
Yeah.
Yeah, 13 was supposed to be Shawn and Brett, the rematch.
Right.
The original plans.
Didn't happen.
We ended up getting Taker and Sid.
Taker and Sid and Brett and Austin, the match.
We ended up getting that.
If it was not for that match, who knows where the business would have gone? No Austin babyface push, no here we go, no kickback for the WWF, nothing.
Yep.
So, second time, Austin's career is benefited by a Kliq screw up.
Yep.
Yeah. First time, King of the Ring after the curtain call.
Exactly. Curtain call happens. Hall and Nash are gone. They can't punish Shawn. So Triple H, you got to take the heat. You don't get the King of the Ring. We're giving it to Austin. And then a year later, lose my smile. Screw you. We're going to go Brett and Austin. You get your match at WrestleMania. Boom. It becomes legendary.
Which is really interesting to think now. Had the plans went through to fruition, who would have Austin worked with on this card? Because I think Sid and Taker was always going to happen. It just got given the title.
Yeah.
Maybe because they had Ken Shamrock come in, they could have done Shamrock Austin? I mean, that's stretching it, but who in the hell could Austin have worked with?
Could have been, Taker was Mankind.
Mankind,
Vader.
Mankind, Vader, Terry Funk.
That could have been possible.
Yeah, Terry Funk.
Could have seen that Texas Death Match. Austin and Funk could have happened. Although Funk
I remember the original play. This was supposed to be Vader and Shawn 3 at this event.
This event,
it's supposed to be the blow off to their thing.
Right, and then that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
Vader beat me up. I don't want to fight him again.
Move!
Move, kick. Move! You dumbass!
Speaking of Shawn Michaels, that brings us to the main event of the show, the rematch from Survivor Series for the WWF Championship, Psycho Sid versus Shawn Michaels.
Now let's remember, in our previous show where we did Survivor Series 96, it's in New York City where the crowd is split, but it's 60-40 in favor of Sid. Not the case here.
No.
Yeah. All for Shawn.
I think once they realized the New York crowd shit all over Shawn, they hit the ground running and getting Shawn built up as a sympathetic babyface for the rematch.
Right. And that's in the promo package they set up because they really stated how selfish Shawn was, the character of Shawn Michaels as a wrestler, and it took Sid to take out Jose, his mentor, to start him actually worrying about somebody else. The maturation of Shawn Michaels, if you will. So
Key 3 on it.
Yep.
Yeah, that was the opening show promo package to the show. Was that
Boyhood Dream?
Yep.
Boyhood Dream. How many times? Let me ask you this: between '96 and '97, when Shawn was world champion, how many times did Vince and Jim Ross use the term "boyhood dream"? And Todd, boyhood dream, boyhood dream, boyhood dream.
Oh, that's the other thing too. Real quick to mention during the show, Todd Pettengill is in the audience and interviews a couple of people randomly.
Colin Ray, country music
Ray,
singer.
one country music star, who I guess was big at that time, but has never done.
He was very big. My sister and her boyfriend. I listened to a lot of Colin Ray by force around that time. My sister and her boyfriend were big country music fanatics, and Colin Ray got lots of play. So I knew exactly who that was, even when the pay-per-view aired initially.
And then there was a little girl from Minnesota who saved up her babysitting money to afford the ticket to Royal Rumble. Yeah, because she followed Shawn Michaels around the country. Wow. So, hey, it's okay. I ain't going to falter for that. So.
Oh, God. So we get to this match. Shawn Sid 2. Good, but not anywhere near as good as the match at Survivor Series. That match was great.
Good match. So Shawn played an A+ babyface and stuff.
Yeah, this is as basic as you can get. So there's a lot of
I was never on Shawn as a babyface, but this one, usually because he wasn't motivated, he was pissed off about something.
Right.
But this time he really came forward and delivered. His selling was on par. Working the crowd was fantastic. Just and telling the story. Like I said, as far as as a straightforward babyface, this is one of Shawn's best performances in that role.
Yeah, and I got to give Sid credit too, because definitely he takes his time with this match. He can pick up on the crowd when they're starting to come back, and they get a little shine back with Shawn, take him right down. And as the match goes on, we go out to the ring, and he gives Shawn the powerbomb on the floor, and Sid really takes care of Shawn with that power bomb. If you watch it, he picked him up and then got his hands right underneath his kidneys and laid him down easily on the padding. Not like they do nowadays where they freaking try to drive the guy through the goddamn concrete. But yeah, he really took care of him back then. So I got to give Sid credit for that. I know there's a lot of criticism about Sid, the way he would work, and plus he knows Shawn has a lot of stroke and he doesn't want to make him mad. So he has to make sure he takes care of him, protects him, make sure little boy toy's okay. But, yeah.
I had a boy toy.
So,
Don't start again.
Why you sound like Todd Chrisley?
Who was that?
Chrisley knows best.
I know.
Yeah.
Only you would think of that.
Of course. Do you remember when Vader pinned Shawn in that 6-man tag?
Yep.
The one that left SummerSlam, and they had the promo afterwards, and all Vader's going is, "I want the boy toy! I want the boy toy!"
Later.
So in the end, Shawn Michaels beat Psycho Sid in about 14 minutes to win back the title. And of course, I think another reason why you saw Shawn delivered to such a good babyface performance, wrestle in front of his family and friends. And when they cut over to his parents, only his mom was selling it. His dad was just sitting there like, like, okay.
Yeah.
Because of course, as documented in his, as documented in the Shawn Michaels DVD in 2007, did not like wrestling and tried to discourage Shawn from trying to get involved in the business.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But of course, like Shawn's one of his best friends was there in the crowd, right behind Vince and JR and Lawler. I forget his name. It's been a while since I've seen that DVD, but. Yeah, that was a long celebration there, and that was the end of the show. So overall, Royal Rumble 97, decent pay-per-view.
Yeah,
decent to good show.
Not great.
Not really a bad match on the card. You just had a couple of matches that were just there, a couple of good matches, the Rumble match being a really good one. So that brings us to best match and worst match. Best match goes to the Royal Rumble match. Worst match, even though it wasn't bad, it was just kind of the less stellar match of the show, Vader versus Undertaker.
Okay, I'm different on both ends. I think worst match was the 6-man because it just wasn't getting over, and it was just kind of, it was there, it filled the spot, but people weren't buying it. So for me, it was just like dead. Best match for me is the main event, because when Shawn wins, crowd goes crazy.
Yep.
And it was a much bigger explosion for him winning than Austin winning. And plus with the finish there, you had Jose Lothario's son, Pete Lothario, jump the rail. Sid grabs the ball to both of them outside, and Shawn gets the camera, which is a throwback to what happened at Survivor Series, hits the super kick, and then Earl Hebner, after taking the bump, does the big, long, drawn-out set-up 3 count there. Finally gets a 3. When he hits a 3, that freaking crowd pops like crazy. So, my opinion, I think that's the better match.
Walt?
I'm pretty much on par with Scott. By a hair. I mean, I really, really like the Rumble. I like the story it's told, especially in the second half. But the Shawn match was basically the reason why everybody was there. It was Shawn's hometown. Crowd was electric. Yeah.
So those are our thoughts on Royal Rumble 97. Now, future plans going forward for this show. Next week, we're going to be doing something different. We're going to go down south. We're going to WCW. First show we're going to talk about for WCW, we're going to go way back. We're going to go to Super Brawl 3, 1993.
Yes.
So that's...
you were born.
Nope. I was born a year later.
Yep.
I was born just a few weeks before SummerSlam 94. So there you go. But, hey, it's something. Yep. But that's going to be an interesting show to watch. That'll be the first time I've ever seen that show, and I hear that the main event on that card was a classic. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing that. So, yeah, we're going to... Maybe for the next few weeks, we're going to be doing WCW shows, and then we'll rotate every now and then. Hell, we're thinking about... We were talking about this before we started recording, that we might start doing, like, for every month, we're going to do themed reviews. Mm-hmm. So perhaps for June, we're going to do King of the Ring and Great American Bash shows. We're going to alternate. So I'm thinking the schedule for that... First episode in June will probably be a Great American Bash. I'm not sure which one yet. Then it'll be a King of the Ring, then Great American Bash, and then King of the Ring again to conclude June. And then July, we'll figure something out for July and so on and so forth going forward. So,
yeah.
But hey, good thing with doing King of the Ring, Great American Bash month, we don't have to talk about 95 because that's already been done.
Already done. Got that done.
So we can focus. So we can focus on the good King of the Rings. Mm-hmm. As far as which ones, I'm leaning more towards for the 2 King of the Ring shows to talk about. 97 and a toss-up between 93 or 98. Maybe 2001 could be in the conversation as well. We'll figure it out somehow. But 97 I'd like to do because that's a curious one. Not only for the tournament, but the show itself. So, and not to mention so much story behind that show. So that will be an interesting one to talk about. Good and bad.
Yes.
But anyways, official next episode, next week will be Super Brawl 3 WCW. Until next time.
And don't forget, we got to plug our stuff. We've got to plug our stuff.
I always forget.
Don't forget, we got to plug our stuff. So right now, you're watching us on the Shadow Kvlt channel. Make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell, do all that fun stuff. Comment away on our videos and give us ideas on other pay-per-views you want to see us review. That's what we want to get you guys.
Or wrestler retrospectives.
Wrestler retrospectives. Anything to do with
company retrospectives.
Give us ideas. We love getting feedback. You know. And of course, you can find me on my YouTube channel, Mr. Scott Reacts, where I do reaction videos. And you find me on Twitter at Mr. Scott Reacts. You also find me and Walter on the Necrocasticon podcast, where we talk horror and heavy metal. That happens every week, every Monday on the Project Entertainment Network. It's on all your favorite podcasting outlets. Walter.
Oh, you can find me on Instagram at smoking_Walt_ball. You can find me on Twitter at YourWaltBall.
That's right.
And then for me, you can find me on YouTube, ThrashManiac99. Same on Twitter, same on Twitch. As of recording here, I am 3 subscribers away from 3,000, so we're almost there. Almost to the big 3K.
Almost there.
It's
away.
Negative. It just impacted on the surface.
There. I'm almost there, like the jackass.
Prepare for your attack run.
So anyways, that's all for us. Horns high. We'll see you next week for Super Brawl 3.